Alright, I left off talking about the Titans. That's a good thing. Cause I gotta make a little correction. Which is a cool thing. That give y'all niggas the opportunity to see how you labor to figure this type of shit out. Trial and error. But I've been doing this shit, I kind of forgot. I said I'm gotta get still shaking a tad bit of the dust off. But we were talking about the Titans. Well, I was talking about the Titans. The On. Now, On, because in that previous video I said On was the darkness. No, I'm tripping. On is the light. On, A-N, and On, O-N. When you cut your light on, the light comes on. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with how electricity works when it comes to, you know, provide energy for your home or your lights or whatever. Some of the words is a circuit. You have a wire or a circuit which the electricity passes through. So but when you cut your light off, what happens is a wall come up and within that circuit that blocks the energy from getting to your light bulb or whatever. But when you hit the switch, you cut it on, that wall moves and the light or the electricity is able to reach you know, proceed within its course and get to the light bulb and, you know, cut the light on, whatever. So On, when you're dealing with I was saying the Titans, T-I-T-A-N-S, Tit-Ons. First and foremost, there go your T from the side, there go your T from the bird's eye view. T-I-T-I-T, you know what I'm saying? And the Titans are the black mountains. See, another word for Titan is the giants. What are the giants? Those the crowns of Jesus, the seven mountains that was pushed up from out of the dark waters of noon, which is the black water, which is melanin. And so you have these black mountains speckled with gold, which is Bacchus, the soul of the universe, or soul of the planet, or whatever. And even when you look at, okay, On, when you're dealing with A, you're dealing with Osiris, the erect Osiris. A, you look at the letter A, it's like an arrow point up. This is your A right here. The N is this globe. So you have the A, you know, the light shooting from here or whatever, or the waves or whatever, the shape, the A, and then you have the N as the globe. That's A-N, On. Then over here, you have O-N, On, which is the A-N is dealing with the center. Basically, this light, the A and the N. You're dealing with the O-N, On, you're dealing with the light that's going out to the circumference. O, and this O has the N on top of it. And On is when, if what you see right now, is when all the melanin clusters down here are formed with speckles of melanin, with particles of light speckled all over them. This is the meditating Buddha. When you meditate, what is it about? It's about stilling the mind. Everything down here is stiff and still and frozen, and the light, the particles of light are what you can't see. And what I'm gonna do, even though I like this, I'm kind of I don't know. I like this right here, the rawness. But I think I'm gonna end up doing these over. But I might use paint or something so you can get a better effect, cause I know you can't see I have yellow down here, gold down here to represent the flakes that sit on top of the melanin down here. But I know it may be hard to see, especially for people that have people with impaired vision. But just imagine this darkness down here, the black speckles with gold flakes of light or whatever. And so just like with the electricity, when the light was all down here and this was darkness at the top with shooter whirlwinds, the air up here, when this part right here departed from the center and went up, it's just like that wall getting out the way. And that was the first flood. When all the light came from when this was all dark and all that light came from that center and flooded the circumference, that's one of the first. That's the flood of the spiritual flood that predated the flood that took place after Moses struck this with Moses is a metaphor. Story of Moses striking the rock and drawing water from the stone is a metaphor for this process that I'm showing you right now. But before all the light came back down, the sun came back down and struck the head of the APAP drop monster, causing water to shoot up from the abyss to bring to overthrow the negation of nourishment, or the negation of life, the life giving element that we call water, or the life sustaining element. This was the first flood. And like I was saying down here, back to that, this the Buddha thing right here. Everything down here is stillness. It's like I was telling you in the last video, a couple videos back, it's petrified, or that's why I was telling you, Pt.6 and Pt.6 one the same. Pt.6 is the worker up here. That's why he goes whoop P. Pt.6 B. Pt.6, the stillness, the meditator. This is where you get in that King Kong that came out like in about 2006, 2007. They have a part where he's meditating. With the I think he had the little chick with him on the mountain when he was meditating with her, whatever. If you pay close attention, this is the head, this is the arms, these are the legs. Indian style. You pay close attention. When you sit Indian style with your hands on your knees, this is what you're imitating. If you pay close attention, so if you look at it, you got the head, the arms. This is what you call there's a comedic deity called Army. Now this is gonna trip you out. Army is a dog-headed ape. Basically, has the body of an ape and the head of a dog, and his name is Army. Now, what do people in the army wear around their neck? With I guess the information or something, or whatever the fuck that should be on there. Dog tags. See how this shit all come together? So on one hand, this is the King Kong meditating, or you have the army, the dog head deity, Anubis, dog. This the being the body, you know what I'm saying? And you get the body of the ape. I just colored this part in a few minutes ago. I've been rocking without it for a minute, but just had to make sure color the other chakra up. But if you look at it's funny how we look at how that just cut. I ain't do this on purpose, but if you look at it, it looks like hairs. And you have another ape deity called Annie, the black hairy ape. The ape, the black haired one, or whatever. So all this shit just be, coming together. This camera is not even compatible to, especially when I get to fucking with these books. I can sit here and talk off my head with some of this shit from what I know in my memory. But I get to fucking with this book, man. Hey man, we'll be here a while, cause that's why I wish I had somewhere I could just really sit here about 4 or 5 hours and just slam dance on these niggas, man. Cause this shit here is no joke. Hey, toot my own horn. I'm speaking on the scholarship of this shit, man. This shit'll kick a nigga in the forehead, man. Hey man, I'm telling you, all that bullshit, man. All that Orthodox religious shit, man, it's a bad day. A bad day. Cause this shit here is gonna bust that bullshit. Anybody listening and looking at what I'm illustrating right here, paired with the shit that's in this book, and I ain't trying to be cocky, I'm just being honest, man, and enthused in the passion is because it's fueled by the validity of this shit. You've been lied to with this bullshit they've been giving you in these. Man, I just see some. Look, man. I don't. Let me get to the work. I get to talking. I don't want to be like, you know how them niggas be on rationing. They be in a little room and they just be tired. I don't want to turn to one of them niggas talking. Let me, cause I'm on this time. It's weird with this camera, but let me get to some shit, man. I'm gonna read some shit for y'all. But yeah, that's the on thing, man. So that's where you get. That's why titties are called titties. Breasts. You know what I'm saying? Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks. Man, there's so much shit, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I can sit here. Yeah, let me get to see what else. Okay, what I want. It was some more shit there, but that's the on. The on is when that's the on of a million years. See, that's how you know Aaliyah was special, and I'm not sure she. I'm quite sure she knew. She I don't want to just say she didn't know nothing. I talk. I don't know what she knew. I know Aaliyah's a bad motherfucker. Cause see, you go and well, basically what I was trying to say. I don't know what she studied. That's what I was trying to say. I don't know what type if she studied in any of the any of our indigenous spirituality, but you have a thing in Kemet called On of a Million Years, which is a reference to Osiris, which Osiris is the light. This is all the light you see is Osiris. It's called On of a Million Years. Now you go listen to 1 in a Million. What she saying on 1 in a Million? Your love is a 1 in a million. It goes on and on and on. Say, man, niggas are some bad motherfuckers. Like, yeah. And I don't even know if she was, I figured out. But I don't even know if she, but I did see a quote somewhere. Wow. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. But yeah, On of a Million Years, man. So, when you dealing with On, it's basically light. The reason I think I said it was the darkness, because when Anubis, we dealing with Anubis, that's a dark side energy. But everything has a little bit of both. Everything has a light and a dark side to one degree or another. So, but I cracked some other shit the other day or yesterday. Well, what came to my mind, I probably thought about this shit before, but it resurfaced in my mind yesterday or whatever. But On knew. Now when you're dealing with new, See, a lot of times, and that be kind of, I think, would be throwing me off too, the spelling. Because when you see anu, it's just ANU, it kind of throw you off because basically what it is, anu is a combination of of light and dark. Nu is the dark waters. On is the light. So when you say anu, you're talking about the light and the dark. And when you look at Anubis in the hieroglyphs or whatever, that's what he has on, black and gold. So you have the both elements there, but it's two different. You say anu, you be thinking it's just one, but you bust it down. On, which is the light, and nu, which is the dark waters of nu, or the night, the dark sky. The dark sky. Nu is the nighttime sky with the golden stars and the moon. In her. And then you have the dark water Nu, which were the dark waters that was here before the light flooded, and the light waters were separated from the dark waters. So yeah, man. Yeah, man. This shit is real. This shit is real in the field, man. Square business. This shit ain't no joke, and I'm just really amazed on myself about it. Not, like I said, not trying to tune on horn, but I ain't this shit. And I just to sit here and be able to synthesize all this information and then come up. When originally I had a whole different, my approach to figuring out how all the earth came into fruition was different than it is now. But to be able to not just do this shit, but to come from quote unquote incorrect, I don't want to say incorrect, but a quote unquote, because I just seen some shit that was pertaining to the other theory I had or whatever, but we don't get, I don't want to complicate and confuse shit, but we just say a totally different, not totally, but a different way of this shit coming to fruition. Then I was dealing with the first theory or whatever scientific look at it was different than this right here. You know, I was thinking everything came from the sun, but the sun was actually created within this is the primal point. Everything started right here with the light and the dark, and everything from the earth to the sun and all the different planets, all that shit started right here in the primal point. And the sun that we see in the sky was created by the process that took the interaction of the light and the dark in between this cipher, or within this this particular point space or whatnot. And just to give you well, I can put that in with this shit I'm gonna read. So I was going, because I wanted to go back to the sun exiting, or the sun and the earth, when the sun came out of the earth and became fixated within this orbit, because the sun orbits around Sirius. This is Sirius. So when everything quote unquote separates, because it's still one through the quantumness or the underworld, the inner, everything is connected. But when the physical bodies or whatever, maybe they exit or whatever, like this was Sirius was already outside of the hemisphere of the earth, but the sun was being created within it, and it takes and the sun also takes its trip to the outside of the hemisphere or whatever, but then it comes back down. But when it comes back down and exits out here, like I said, and I see, let me read this shit, and I need to. Oh, I wish I had 19 minutes. I'm gonna give y'all some scholarship first. I'll go back to that. But yeah. When some of the world I was saying that, you know, the earth is tilted on its axis, so when the whole process takes place, the earth is gonna be tilted and raised. By the time the sun gets to this chakra will be right here. So the earth will raise up, bringing, while the sun coming down, the earth is raising up. And by the time the sun gets to this point, the earth will be raised up to where this point is right here. And it'll be tilted. And then the earth will be just what when they say, when you read the mythology, when it speaks about Shuon or Horus overthrowing the Apep, or overthrowing the dragon. Overthrowing the dragon is, he takes that position. The earth, he throws the earth off his back, or the earth comes off the back, and then the moon comes off the earth and goes into its orbit. So when the sun goes into this, or when the earth floats into the third orbit or the third ring or whatever, the moon comes off the earth and goes into its orbit, where it's gonna orbit around the earth. That's why when you look at them Catholic masses and all that, or whatever, when they take the pigeon, the dove out of the cage and throw it in the air, that's symbolic of the moon being blown out the earth and shot off into its orbit or whatever. Even the cap that you see the Pope wearing with the white cap corresponds to the white ice cap that was over the earth or whatnot. And yeah, man, I can really get jiggy with this shit. But let me pull out this Ancient Egypt Light of the World, page 426. All right. The point of emergence from a mentor was at the double gate of glory on the summit of the eastern mount. Now that when they start talking about the eastern mount, that's more so speaking about the earth after it comes out of the earth. The sun after it's born out of the earth, and then the earth spinning towards it, the face of the earth spinning towards it, and the sun rising over the horizon at the east. But when you take it back to what that is based on, it's based on the primal point I was telling you about right there, the point of interest, the gateway. It's a gateway. 1-1. You know what I'm saying? At the center, you go through the gate. Go through the gate. That's back to the matrix shit. The computers, ones and the zeros. Ones, zeros. Zero with a 1 coming out of it, or with the rod coming out of it. One uphill, one uphill. The 2 made 1 at the center. Sam bow, the bow, arrow. You know, I'm gonna show you niggas. It's really popping. But otherwise expressed, this was the place of exit from the lower to the upper Egypt of the mythos as celestial localities. On her, the light. That's on Horus. Horus the light. The light. And on her was the uplifter and supporter of the heaven and its inhabitants by night. Shu was delivered by day, who brought with the uplifting support of Shu was the deliverer by day, who brought the solar orb into the horizon. Now, when they speak about Shu bringing the solar orb into the horizon, it's speaking about, like I was just saying, the earth as we see it right now, how it comes over the, it's basically saying that when you see the sun come over the when the sun rises in the morning, it's being pushed up by the winds of Shu, because that's what Shu is. He's a wind deity, air or whatnot. But in our actuality, we know the reason why the sun rotates around Sirius B, so it's not necessarily fixated, but we just say, relatively speaking to us, it's fixated at the center. So, and the reason why the sun comes up the way that we see it is because it's spinning in the earth. But they just, they go to show you how unorthodox they was in their thinking, because they know that the sun rises because the earth tilts towards it, and then when the earth turns its back, the sun goes down, or when it spins, makes a 360 spin around, it turns its back or turns around. When it's nighttime, basically the face of the earth is facing into the darkness with the back towards the sun. That's why you see the darkness. But but when you dealing with the inner or the creation of all this, Shu is that. Remember I told you in the beginning, it was a whirlwind up here that sucked this up. So Shu honor is basically on her. Remember, as the creation process is taking place, it's constantly spinning and turning. So Shu honor is basically when all 7 of these are set up with the 8 with the first one at the top, but you got the light pillar with the melanin clusters on it. By the time all that takes place, the face or the circumference is also flooded with light. So you got the circumference flooded with light, and then you got this full ladder set up. That's the when they speak about Shu honor, that's what that's basically what you thinking about in regards to the creation process, because these are called creation myths or whatever. That's one of the phrases they're referring to as, or they're referring to people referring to them as. Okay, but all right. So in the Hebrew rendering, Moses, we're gonna really get into some of that shit with this Moses character too. We busting all that bullshit up. You better believe that. In the Hebrew rendering, Moses sustains the role of on her, and Joshua that of Shu. Joshua in the Bible is Shu, Ioshua. Because before it was a J, it was an I. From what I've read, the letter J came from out of I or some shit, however that worked, but I read that somewhere. So that's why when I read stuff and I see J and I want to get ancient with it, I put the I and see where that take me. But Ioshua, there's another version of Shu. The Ioshua, that of Shu, the halves of the whole, the wings, it's the wing disc, the scarab, the halves of the whole, halves of the whole. In the Hebrew, excuse me, I already read that. Halves of the whole, okay. In the Hebrew rendering, Moses sustains the role of on her, and Joshua that of Shu. The half of the whole round being extended to the circle of the year. The earthly paradise was planted as the Alu or the Elysian fields, to the eastward of the neither earth, where stood the tree of life, and where the mountain of the double earth was climbed to get a glimpse of the land of promise that was visible over sea. Upon this mountain Moses stood to view the landscape over. That's Moses. Upon this mountain Moses stood to view the landscape over, or rather the sky cape. No, the skyscape. Where you get your skyscraper shit from. That's why they call them skyscrapers, the stone mountains, the mountains. When you look at buildings, the buildings, skyscrapers are like imitations of the mountains that was originally pushed up when we was building and forming the planet. The lower paradise was the picture and a promise for the wanderers in the wilderness of Amenta. This is the wilderness. This is the bush. And really you could say the light going through the top is the wilderness too, because the dark, by the top originally being dark. I'm gonna have to put my dark one up in a minute. So I don't want to, give some props to both sides. But when all this was dark and the light came through the center and flooded through it, that's going through the wilderness or going through the darkness, the dark forest. Dark forest. When that sun, after all that go up in this is the burning bush. When the sun comes from out here, when all these go up here, and then create one that has the power of all 7 and shoot back down here, boom, and goes all through these here, the heat and the fire that's created from all that is what creates the burning bush down here. But it ain't like it's just on. It's a form. It's a process. You just got the heat going through here. It ain't like everything's down here just fire. Nah, like hell. That's where the hell shit come from. But nah, it's a cooking process going on. Everything is where it's supposed to be at. It's not a wildfire at all, but that is the burning bush. Because these are the trees. That's why in that Sambo video they talk about the tree that the upside down tree. This is what they talking about. Go watch that Sambo Black Gods of Asia video and cross references with this shit I'm telling you, and you'll see. The lower paradise was but a picture and promise for the wanderers in the wilderness of Amenta. The upper was the paradise of all ancient and pre-solar legends. Thus far, the deliverer on her, well, the upper was the paradise of all ancient and pre-solar legends. See, the pre-solar legends is what I'm breaking down to you right now. Solar is when the sun actually, after the sun makes its departure from out of the earth. This is stellar and lunar work. Stellar is the light coming up when all this was dark. Remember, the light comes up, flood all this, then retracts, and then goes out, shoots out to the circumference. That's stellar because it's the process of creating the stars. And then it creates the moon on the top. That's lunar. That's why they tell you that the stellar and the lunar calendars come from before the solar, because the solar doesn't come to all after all that when it shoots out of here. But the creation process of the sun is, while the sun is being created, it's basically creation of the sun. The stellar and the lunar is almost a byproduct of the creation process of the sun. You can look at it like that. So the lower paradise was but a picture and a promise for the wanderers in the wilderness of Amenta. The upper was the paradise of all ancient and pre-solar legends. Thus far, heaven of eternity was the paradise of the spirits perfected. This was the land of promise and final fruition both in one, the land overflowing with milk and honey. The milk called the white liquor, which the glorified ones loved, was in limitless abundance. No words can say how much. Lower Egypt was a land of corn, but the legendary promised land of corn, honey, oil was in the Arut fields of the mythos. These were the fields where the corn grew 7 cubits high, with the 3 cubits long, and eternal plenty for all comers. The land placed upon Mount Hetep at the summit of the attainment is called the divine name of corn and barley. Barley is wheat or bread or whatever. Corn, the light. The bread, the white ice. After all this light retracts up here, and that water that followed it to the edges of the earth, or the edges of the spill, froze up and became white. And a lot of I'm just breaking down the creation process right now, but then it's the spiritual aspect of this too, more of a psychological aspect of it too. But I'll get into that later. The inner work as far as how it pertains to you spiritually, because I'm breaking it down how it pertains to the creation of the earth, but it also pertains to the creation of your body and just your spiritual. You want to be in the center spiritually. Spiritually, when you become conscious and spiritual, not spiritual in not the spirituality they give you with these false religions, but true spirituality, the oneness of it all, you become centered. That's why the center is the center would be where your soul at, and then the outer parts would be the physical body. Or would pertain to the physical aspect of you. That's why I say it's good. That's why I say it's good to be centered, because if you're not centered, you're too scattered out here in the circumference, you're more worried about the physical aspect of everything than the spiritual aspect. And not saying you're just supposed to ignore the physical, but you have a lot of people out here who are so distracted by the physical that they will compromise, they will compromise the spiritual self or the spiritual aspect of themselves in the name of the physical. sellouts and shit. You know, or not even just sellouts. It ain't even just by a motherfucker even making a conscious effort. It could be a motherfucker that don't just a motherfucker that's just the only thing since their consciousness is stuck in their root chakra, the only thing that they concerned about is the physical thing: eat, sleep, shit, fun, party, blah blah blah. They so worried about that they don't take no time. And in the whole while, you can do both. You don't have to be a monk, sit in a goddamn sanctuary 23 hours out of the day just meditating now. You don't have to do that. I'm not saying don't meditate shit. I'm saying you don't have to. That's an extreme version of the true concept that was originally being pushed. It's an extreme version. You know, you live life because the same way they're ignoring it, or the same way you just sit and be reclusive all day and meditate all day and shit. That's one thing, but then you learn more when you go out and experience things or whatever. And you take these experiences. That's one of the which I'm gonna get more. We finna get into that too, but that's the metaphorically speaking. That's how you turn water into wine. You look at your experience that you have within this physical body, and you fermentate them into spiritual. You transform them more into spiritual situations, or you use them to decipher or figure out things on the spiritual level or whatnot. Just to put it plainly, which this is the process. So, okay, right here, the milk called the white liquor, which the glorified ones love. What is the white liquor? Remember, when this was all black, murky water, and this went up, and then the 7 lights came from down here and shot up here. That caused the water, the light water, pure or the clear water, to separate from the melanin, which was coming dripping down here. And it was like a boiling pot. So when all the circumference was flooded with light, the heat from the light was in the center, and the light that spread out here, but just the light period, basically turned into like a pot of boiling sulfur or something, or boiling water or whatever, because the water was evaporating from out of the melanin and precipitating, just like I said again, when the sun rises up, water, it causes water to precipitate and rise from out of the oceans or whatever. Same thing with here. When all this rises up, it causes that water to separate from out the melanin and come up into a mist. I'm talking about gorillas in the mist. All this shit is milk. The milk, like I said, the milk, they call it the milk because the thick whiteness of the steam, same way you see that thick white steam come from out of them pots of water when you boil it and cook it or whatever, mixed with the golden light. That's the honey. This is turning water into wine on the top part. You get to the bottom, but this is turning water into wine. Wine. You got different colors of wine, but you got the golden wine. Here it is, the milky white of water mixed with the golden shoe honor or the lights. They said when the Hebrews going through the wilderness, they traveled with the Ark of the Covenant provided a fire by night and a veil of smoke by day. This is all the light coming up, setting up that ladder, all the light flooding the circumference corresponds to what we experience as sunrise in daytime. At day, when all this light comes up, you have a misty smoke around it. Got the golden light, the white smoke, and it's a mist. That's the daytime thing. When all that light comes up, it concentrates right here, and all this light comes out the circumference and shoot out to create the zodiac. it leaves this whole center dark with golden specks. That's when you get the all eyes on me. You'll see Osiris represented as a man with a lot of eyes over him, and some depictions of him. That's what that symbolizes, the darkness with the light speckles all throughout it, or whatever. So when all the light shoots out from the circumference, and all this light shoots up out here, and it leaves the black underworld down here with the white dome on it, with water frozen in here too though, with the light standing over it. All this right here in the inner part is darkness. So when he say he traveled by a pillar of flame at night, that represents when the sun, after the lightning strikes, boom, and open it up. When the sun follows it, that's the fire. This is the Ark of the Covenant right here. That's the fire shooting back down at night through the darkness. Boom, coming right here to boom, 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 shoot out of here, and then daytime as we know it begins when it comes from out of here, while it's tilted on this axis, because I think it'll be tilted this way, so the sun will come out like this, boom. But by the time the sun gets to this position, by the time the sun fixates right here and the earth shoots up out it, by the time the earth gets to its orbit, say if it's tilted this way, it'll come around like this and be facing the sun, which will be over here, bringing daytime, and the moon will go into its orbit or whatever. But it all happens. All this shit happens within. That's why they say in the Bible it happens within the twinkling of an eye. All this shit happens so fast. You know, it's like boom, boom, because because you're dealing with the word of God. Or I don't want to say like that, because I don't like to use the. I'm God. We the gods. You know what I'm saying? We don't. That's why I'm sitting here showing you how this shit happened, because proving you that. People still thinking this just spook God, and oh God, no, if you don't know, if you at this point in time, if you're not trying to declare yourself as a God, and that's just a word, that's just one word to describe something that you really can't use. That's why it has 99 attributes in Arabia, and you have and I'm gonna get to it in this right within this little section I'm reading. You'll see. But it's many different variations. You have the oneness, and you have many different variations of the oneness or whatever. So the real niggas are the gods. The niggas with souls. You know what I'm saying? You got a soul and you act and you conscious. You're on the divine level. You got some shit going on around here though where anyway. Let me get back to this. The Egyptians were already tillers of the ground when Ptah laid out and planted the lower Aru paradise. Ptah being the tillers of the ground. That's why I was telling you, Ptah digging and cutting and carving the holes in the underworld, and the top, as the light was traveling from the center to the edge of the circumference, it was cutting out, shaping the mountains and forming all the shells in the forming the physical bodies with using the melanin, the melanin wax or whatever, using that oozy melanin to form all the animals and men and women and yada 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 yada. But that's the Ptah, tiller, the tiller of the land. Till means to work the land. You know what I'm saying? Here's your hoe. You use a hoe to get your ground ready to plant seeds and shit. Here go your hoe right here. It's like a hook. That's the Candyman hook. Yeah. Alright, so the Egyptians were already tillers of the ground when Ptah laid out and planted the lower Aru paradise as their other field of work, in an earth that was ruled or tyrannized over by the powers of evil, headed by the Apep dragon. The Apep dragon is when all the light has left the circumference and shot out, leaving this frozen, desolate, and dark. That's the Apep dragon, a drought. is the water is dry and the water that's down here is froze. So it represents lack thereof or whatever. So it says this was the earth of the abyss, the primeval desert which had to be reclaimed by the pioneers and planters of that underworld. The reclaiming is when the light comes back into the sphere from the top and through the and back through the circumference. That's what that is. It was laid out strictly because they were the pioneers. The light put the seed was the light that shot out the circumference is what left the seeds, the gold seeds behind within the circumference or whatever. So the seed grown in the heart. Each one of the mains had a portion in which to plow and sow and reap. Now that's the spiritual part of this shit. When they start talking about the mains, because that's your nigga ass. The portion that you plow, sow, and reap is talking about spiritual, weeping, digging through the darkness of your mind to figure mysteries of life out. You know what I'm saying? And figuring out all this type of shit. You digging and you digging through the melanin of the subconscious mind would be similar to the so much time we got. To the mud or the dirt that you digging through to get to discover miraculous thought, so to speak. Now let's get busy. Got probably about 15 minutes left with you niggas. Hopefully, I have to. That's why I hate doing it like this. I wish I would have kept my goddamn laptop, but got me a video cam for that bitch or whatever. Cause I hate having it's a labor I gotta go through to get through this shit, but it ain't no big deal. You roll with the punches. So let me so each one of the mains had a portion of plow and sow and reap. The seed grown in the harvest field of life on earth was going up to sow and bring forth 100-fold in this. The field of divine harvest, which was so magnified by tradition because its bounty had been divinized. Hold on, its bounty had been divinized. The Egyptian authorship of paradise of peace and plenty is preeminently shown by their converting the soul in it and reap the corn according to the labels. I know by now y'all know the corn. They're talking about the kernels or whatever is the golden sparkles of light. A mental was made from the sand converted into fertile soil, well watered by the all-enriching Nile. The Nile would be Booyah, the center, the river, the golden river. It was like Lower Egypt. No, excuse me. Okay, the Egyptian authorship of a paradise of peace and plenty is preeminently shown by their converting the earth of eternity into a world of work, the harvest field that was cultivated by the mains who dug and hoed and sowed in it and reaped the corn according to their labors. A mental was made from sand converted into fertile soil, well watered by all enriching Nile. It was like the Lower Egypt, the land of honey, the land of sycamore fig trees, which was a veritable tree of life to the Egyptians. It was the land of the grapes that grew in clusters of prodigious size. And that's what we talking about with the turning the water into wine too. We got this part of turning the water into wine now. Once the sun comes back, once the series basically the Star Series shoots the sun back out and it comes through here, it crushes it, like I said, it goes through here and busts the shell, and all the light speckles are like people or whatever. This is the resurrection of Osiris, the son being the Horus, Hartima, the Redeemer, coming to join his father. So you would think, oh, it shoot down here and it busts all the lights up. It's like, oh, he's attacking Osiris. No, it shoots down here, boom, boom. When it goes down here, it reunites with those light particles I was telling you that's on top of the melanin. So that's the resurrection of Osiris through Horus. And like when the Bible, when he say, it speaks about Jesus and God having a conversation, he was like, they say Jesus came and his white raiment was, he had red wine on his white raiment. That's because this is the core, the color, the sons of Korah. L and R is interchangeable in Egypt. So Korah, color. This is the color. Each one of these chakras pertains to a different color. What is it? Violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. And that's seen basically when he was saying that about the wine press. That's when really was after that's why I said red wine, because it's the root chakra. So after the earth and the sun separate right here, the red wine represents the sun being in the root chakra. After he comes through here and crushes the grapes. These are the grapes. This is the great work right here. You know what I'm saying? But I was telling y'all about how I pulled out the great work. I was drinking some shit called Primal Mazo, the primal mother, the primal mother's ooze. If you look at it, because it's PRIMOMAZZO. So you got Mazu. You know, you can switch the O and the Z around. Ma ooze, the primal, the dark waters of noon. You know what I'm saying? But that's what that when they say turn the water to wine, because when it goes through this, the contents of each one of these are gonna shoot up and shoot out to the top and mingle with the waters up there, and everything goes to the place. You want your pure water where it go, and then whatever this, all the things, and not even just this represents the really dimensions and shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's real deep, man. But simple to break down. I just had to I'll go more in detail about that later on. But so yeah, let me but yeah, that's turning the water into wine right there. These are the grapes, the clusters, the vine. They tell you Jesus is divine and Christ is vine. These are the grapes. You know what I'm saying? I showed you the way the fermentation process up here, and then it doesn't turn the water into wine down here when it comes out here and goes through each one of these. Each one of these opens up. And even when you go to Revelations, where they talk about, where they throw you for a loop, because they tell you, well, they say that the woman came and had seven vials that she opened up and released her abomination on earth with. They're just talking about this shit. Everything that pertains to each one of these chakras, when the sun went through and it opened up, all that shit shot up through the top and did what it was supposed to do. We just take it that deep. You know what I'm saying? But then, you know, with the Bible, see, by the Bible being, given, the Bible as you know it being put together and given to you by male chauvinists, this Eurocentric male chauvinist, this Eurocentric male chauvinist perspective, they had the thing when it came to the mother, or the female aspect of all this shit, they always try to taint it or whatever. That's why it's called the abomination. Really, it's just the creation process. It's just whatever, all the shit that pertains to each one of them chakras was released out of those valves. That's what that. I'm gonna get into that in another video too. I'll run back into that, but on one of my next trips. But yeah. So and basically, they call it turning water into wine, because basically it's taking something like water is pure, or we'll say, we'll just, for lack of a better phrase, say water is basic. But when you take fermented grapes, which went through a process, because fermentation is that's like I was just saying, going through life and having experiences. You go through these experiences, and the things that they bring you to the knowledge of is basically corresponding to the fermentation. The lesson would be so let's just say the grapes, they fermentate the grapes or whatever. to make the wine or whatever. The grape would be the experience. The knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that you get from that experience would be the vapors that ferment from out of the, or coming from out of the grapes. So the lesson that you get from the experience is this, that's the spiritual turning water into wine. You know what I'm saying? You can look at it just, learning daily mundane lessons from experiences, but ultimately it's using your experience in a physical vessel to fermentate spiritual, miraculous miraculous knowledge and wisdom and understanding from out of your from the experience, basically. So that's really what we was, I guess for lack of a better phrase, say the esoteric meaning of turning water into wine. And this would be the mundane physical creation aspect of turning water into wine. You know what I'm saying? Might change my name to Summer Champagne King on these niggas, man. Straight up. Square business. Shout out to Evelyn Champagne King. A mentor was made from sand converted into fertile soil well water. Like I was telling you, the process of the frozen water, of the water being inside the tunnels and holes and pockets dug out by Pachar down here. That's how it turned the water into fertile. That's where you get your fertile well water, fertilizing well water from. By the all enriching Nile. It was like Lower Egypt, the land of honey, the land of sycamore fig tree, which was a veritable tree of life to the Egyptians. It was the land of the grapes that grew in clusters of prodigious size. It was the country of abundant corn. Not that the Egyptians thought the other world of replica of this, but such was a natural plan on which they wrought in making out the unknown by the known. See what I'm saying? That's what it basically break it down to you. The ultimate understanding, what they're trying to say is reaping or going into the dark to bring the light out. That's making the unknown known. That's the great work. That's what you're doing when you turn base metal into gold. You got the earth version of it, or the creation of the universe version of it, and then you have the psychological aspect of it, which leads you to godhood, divinity. When you start going into the light and bringing out the dark in regards to this type of information, you start experiencing this shit. It starts to surround you. You start to see it. It starts to speak to you. And if you believe, for lack of a better phrase, we'll say believe, because believing is the first step. You got to come into a knowing. But the more you understand that this is real, the more and more you start to get these signs and symbols and messages and guidance or whatever. So, let me see something. Damn, I know this motherfucker finna cut off. Oh, they still rocking. Probably finna shut off on a nigga about 2 minutes. So if it cuts off abruptly, until next time, my dear friends. But let me get what I can get out right now. So, the Arab paradise and the Mentor is copied from the Egypt and the upper earth. The fulfillment of the blessing it was in its being a likeness of the dear old land made permanent and perfect in the spirit world. It was promised land for those who were prepared to take possession of it and to drink of the sacred Nile at its celestial source. Its tree of life was a sycamore fig tree that had always been the tree of life and food in season. The journey from Lower Egypt of the mythos through the desert of Amenta was from the east to west, from the planet of the sunset to the point of sunrise, which was called the Solar Mount of Glory. At sunset, On-Her-Shu upraised his mansion of the starry firmament, which he lifted nightly, standing on the steps of the Kemen. This is the Kemen, the 7 and the 8. Kemen is synonymous with the number 8 because it's the 7 Ali spirits or the Ari spirits, and then you got the start series on the top one, which is the leader, which makes it the eighth.